week. Things have been alright here, things have been a bit quiet. Last week I had not very much to report because I had injured my wrist, and I was trying to take things easy so as not to cause any long-term damage. It's still pretty sore, well, not sore, achy, so I'm icing it quite a lot and putting ibuprofen gel on it, and tiger balm and menthol gel and all that kind of thing. And also my wife, when she was injured long term, got an ultrasound device and a TENS machine for helping her wrist. So I've been using those to try and get it back in shape, and I've managed the last couple of days to get back on the sculpting, but I've had to limit that to sort of 20 minutes at a time, and then taking a decent break from it, just because I don't want to risk pushing it. I can definitely feel it when I'm holding the sculpting tools, but the paintbrushes seem to be a lot less taxing on my wrist. So I guess because I'm just sort of stroking the paintbrush across or dabbing it, I'm not putting any force or pressure on it as I am with the sculpting tools. So I have been able to paint. So I've been doing some wood elves, doing some colour samples on the wood elves, and that's been fun. They're coming along to actually do something. But while I've been taking breaks from that and trying to do stuff with my left hand, which isn't easy because I'm very, very right-handed. I do almost nothing with my left hand. So this has been fun and challenging, but I've been trying to type with my left hand. And I've been working on a new supplement for the woods. So hopefully that's good news for everybody. So I thought I'd say a little bit today about my writing process, because I'm not all that great on delivering sometimes when I say that I will do things. So like in the first week of lockdown, I said, I'm working on a do-it-yourself solo campaign for the woods. And I was for a week, 10 days, and then I got onto other things and got distracted and realised that lockdown would probably be over by the time I got it out there. This wasn't something that I could rush through, and you did a lot more testing. So I kind of shelved that. So that's a lesson for me to not say that I'm going to do things when I'm not going to do things necessarily. But I'm at the point now that I got to with things like Barrow Burning and the second edition of the Woods, where a critical mass has built up. So what I do when I'm not necessarily when I'm writing, but when I'm painting something, I'm into something, I've read something that's interesting, is that quite often I will get inspired to write fragments of things. So if you remember back to just before lockdown, and then the very beginning of lockdown, I was doing halflings, my little Westphalia goat halflings, and all the while that I was painting these guys, I was inventing a history and a backstory for them. So they're very much based on the town that I currently live in, that I moved to last year. So the heraldry on them is based on the town's heraldry. The names of some of the knights and the mottos are to do with people and places that have had associations with the town. The place where they live, the kind of fictional world that I've created for them, is based around the area, the valleys around here where I live. So I just sort of put those elements down for this course, and they were was in place. And then what happened? More recently, I've been reading this, and particularly going through the stuff about the Tuatha De Man and the Faina Fin. Faina anyway. I think that's how you say it. And their adventures in there. Then I got into the wood elves, as you'll know, and have been sculpting wood elves, and then thought, okay, well, they're going to be my Fey walkers. So then I was writing a bit more about Fey walkers. When I did the live feed for Salute, there was some questions about using dragons, worms in Games of the Woods. So I've been thinking a little bit about that. I've got stuff that I wrote when I was putting together the goblins and the gnomes for the Kickstarter last year. So there was well, there still is a source book called what's it called? Thunder Under Mount Silence. That's what it's called, Thunder Under Mount Silence, which is about the relationships between the goblins and the wolves, and the goblins and the gnomes and the Holdra, and the stuff that's going on in the mountain there. I've been writing stuff for the Warbands campaign that's now being tested by a few groups. So there's lots of pockets of things that I've written at different times. And when it builds up to the point that there is enough stuff there that I think will hang together, then I start turning it into a book. And that's what I've been doing in the last week or so. It's been helped by the arrival of this a couple of weeks ago. Has also set me thinking about some different settings, some different legends to start pulling into the kind of folklore of the woods, the myth of the woods, if you will. I've been revisiting Tolkien. When I've been awoke at 2 in the morning because my wrist has been painful, I've been going through the old David Day Tolkien bestiary, mostly for the illustrations by Ian Miller and John Blanche and other very classic illustrations, and of course Alan Lee's work in The Hobbit, but also his Tolkien sketchbook that I picked up when I was in Hobbiton in New Zealand a few years ago on my honeymoon. So looking through those and the aesthetics of those, and thinking, yeah, I'd like to do a miniature of that, I'd like to do a miniature of that, how can I slot this in, how can I fit this into the world, and started tying these pieces together. So I've got the next book that I've got now planned, and it's mostly written. I'm going to say it's mostly written because it is. What's not written yet are the character profiles, the scenarios, the special rules. I haven't got much artwork done for it yet. I haven't got photos of the miniatures because the miniatures are still sat here, not quite finished. They need to be sent away cast. Then I need to work over the top of the dollies. Then they need to be cast again. Then they need to be painted. So we're talking a while here. But there's definitely some movement on this. I've been talking to a couple of artists already about doing some work for it, and that's really the point where I always struggle with these books. Because they need to look really pretty. So, they need to have a good cover image, and they need to have good artwork on the inside. And for good reason, that's expensive to get done. And because we weren't able to go to Salute this year, I haven't got a store of cash reserves to spend on artwork. So I'm going to have to be a bit kind of picky as to how many bits of artwork I'm able to pick up for it, and I'm going to have to do quite a lot myself, as I guess is always the case. But if you do any artwork and you would like to volunteer some artwork for it for a free copy of the book on Awesome Free Miniatures, or something, do a trade-off for stock. That's something that I'd be very happy to talk to you about. Do let me know if you're interested and have time to be working on that. But I've now been talking to a couple of artists about doing the cover, about getting some licensed stuff for the inside. So that is now in progress, is moving forwards. And the working title of the book is Mythic Heroes. It probably won't be called that when it comes out, but I need to do some more of the writing, pull some more kind of themes out to decide what to actually call it, but it's going to be looking at some more kind of heroic figures for the woods. It'll have a halfling race in it that will be entirely new. There'll be a look at a particular Spriggan band I have in mind. There'll be a look at Yaltog caravans. That'll be a warband list for those. The Faina Talamla, which will be a kind of elite Tuatha mercenary force. Fey Walkers will get various incarnations, heroes that you can draft into your war bands, and there will be rules for worms and some wizardy figures that will be, I guess, familiar from the tradition of fantasy genres in the UK. So yeah, that will be what's in the book. And as I said, I've pretty much written background for it. I just need to get all the details honed, and then when lockdown is released to the extent that I can go and play some games with people, then I can play test the rules for those heroes. So keep an eye out for that. That will be coming in probably not the very near future. I'm not going to promise it'll be in the near future, but the aim is to get that in place for September, October time. So watch this space. So I'm going to go and put some ice on my wrist again. I hope you have a good week. I hope I will have some finished sculpts to show you next week. I've been doing some head sculpting while I've been only able to do small amounts at a time, trying to refine a technique that I mentioned last week that Trish Morrison had talked about. So I'm hoping to put together a video on sculpting heads, sculpting faces, because there isn't one out there, but I want to do a few more test heads before I'm ready to put that in front of the camera and say, hey, I know what I'm doing, because I'm very aware that compared to a lot of sculptors out there, I do not know what I'm doing when it comes to faces. So yeah, I will do some more practicing on that, and hopefully have that for you, if not next week, in a couple of weeks' time. I also want to do some more Bob Ross painting, but again, that's very, very taxing on the wrist. And although my wife does left-handed Bob Ross painting, I don't feel like I'm quite confident enough to do that. She's a professional oil artist and really knows her stuff when it comes to brushes and paint, and I do not know my way around a large canvas, so I'm okay with my right hand, but it would be disastrous with my left hand. But yeah, hopefully we'll get that done at some point in the future and show you. Keep letting me know if there's anything that you'd like to see, that you'd like me to cover, especially if it's stuff that I can just talk about and I don't have to have done anything or show you anything, and I can be thinking about it and resting my wrist at the same time. That's helpful. And thank you everyone who has sent suggestions for wrist care and wishes for that to get better. I hope it will get better too. So have a nice week. Enjoy the sunshine. Keep your distance from people. Stay alert. And I will see you next week. Take care.